Coming off the heels of the go-home edition of Monday Night Raw, it is myself, Athan Hristodulu, alongside Matt Colpitts, as we dive into our SummerSlam prediction show. Just days away from the very first time SummerSlam will be a 2-night event. Matt, there is a ton for us to get into. We'll take some quick notes and thoughts away from last night's Monday Night Raw, but today's show is all about what we are going to see this weekend. A culmination of a lot of different storylines at this point, what seems to be the second biggest event of the WWE calendar year. Matt, how are we doing today?
Pretty good, man. I mean, coming off the heels of Raw, we still got one last SmackDown heading into the weekend, but everything is really just kind of building up, prepping you for, as they used to dub it, the biggest event of the summer. And yeah, like you said, I do feel like this is kind of, other than barring WrestleMania, kind of the biggest event that WWE puts on annually.
Yeah, I would say like maybe the Royal Rumble would like to have a word about that conversation, but for me personally, I've always looked at this as like the second biggest thing, biggest party of the summer, whatever you want to call it. But we're going to take a look at Monday Night Raw first, just go through some quick notes, thoughts, takeaways, just anything from the show. I feel like there is this mode that WWE gets in with their shows right before any big event, especially something like SummerSlam, where it's basically let's get everyone on TV in any way we can to make sure that everyone remembers these people all have matches this upcoming weekend. And we joked around before coming on the show. This felt like an episode of SmackDown from 2007 when Teddy Long was the general manager, because 3 different tag team matches we slammed together. We had a mixed 6-man tag team match, We also had the tag team titles on the men's side on the line. And then, of course, we had an 8-woman tag match as well, just slamming people together to make sure everyone gets some screen time here. I don't really have a problem with this. We're all kind of ready and chomping at the bit for SummerSlam, because this is one of the big, like, I guess this might be the wrong word, but I think it's the right word, like crescendo of the years for WWE. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I'm fine with the way they did that. Some stuff that came up, though. We'll talk this first one here. There is a third El Grande Americano. Like that's how you know, like, this is where the Monday night before a big event, this is what we're kind of looking at right now. There's a third El Grande Americano out there right now.
Yeah, and I mean, based off speculation, and I was looking at his chin, it looks like it seems to be Pete Dunne, as we already speculate that Ludwig Kaiser is the second one. I mean, Ivy Nile even had name-dropped him during one of those promos that got cut out during a commercial break. But, yeah, it seems like maybe it's going to be a 4th and a 5th and a 6th. That could be cool. And then it culminates somewhere down the line where, you know, eventually Chad Gable returns as the original, and who knows where the storyline could go. But it seems like right now they are just building towards, anyone could be El Grande Americano. And I thought it was definitely an interesting development that I did not see coming.
So that would be a crazy angle now that you bring that up. Could you imagine if, maybe a couple more months down the road, guys that just haven't quite, because it's funny, you're looking at guys basically right now, and even Chad Gable himself is kind of a good example of like not well utilized talent, or just like not being used a ton at the current moment type talent. Ludwig Kaiser hadn't been around for a while since until he basically put the mask on himself in Gable's absence. Gable prior to that, I mean, yeah, he had the whole thing going on with Alpha Academy, but like, how successful was he prior to that big moment where he decided to flip over and start doing this, and now he is where he is now? And then, of course, like Pete Dunne, we haven't really seen a ton from him either. This could be like a thing where underutilized talent in certain spots start donning the El Grande Americano mask, because nobody's willing to stake claim to who it is that's under the mask. And I'm curious to see it, because like, could you imagine if we get somebody like, and this is obviously not going to happen, but like an Otis in the mask kind of thing, like if we really just want to like take it to the next level, like there's a very funny route that they could go with this.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, if you're going that route, you literally, it bars none. It could bring in a woman wrestler that has not been used. You could bring in someone like Omos that has not been used in so long.
Exactly.
Like, I see the vision. I would love it. And like I said, I think it culminates in like a El Grande Americano Battle Royale or whatever it is, just because it seems like WWE is all in on this gimmick.
I was going to say, if you think of like the timeline of Chad Gable's return, I believe they said it was like 6 to 8 months or so for that injury, if I'm remembering correctly. I could be off on that. Maybe it was 4 to 6. I remember 6 months for some reason. But you could do something where it's like Survivor Series War Games, and it's just El Grande Americanos kind of thing. Like there is an avenue for this to get really wacky. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens here, because I knew Ludwig in his situation, he's stepping in to fill a void that left and to kind of keep the conspiracy rolling as to who's under the mask. But like them just all of a sudden introducing a third one, I don't think anyone saw that coming. The other big thing I really want to talk about is, of course, CM Punk's promo with Gunther as they get themselves ready to roll at SummerSlam. I am excited for this because the opportunity to finally see CM Punk win a world championship since returning to the WWE for the first time, it's going to be we're at 2025 now, so it's been over 12 years, I think, since he's last held a championship, basically since he lost it to The Rock, I believe. Yeah. So it's been a long time since he's held a world title. I'm excited for it, but what we got from this promo, and was something that we haven't seen, and we've seen like sprinkles of it, but this was really Punk leaning into it, was just arrogant, best in the world CM Punk, where I personally think he is at his absolute finest. And the war of word, not even war of words, it was basically, he literally put his hand on Gunther's mic and didn't even let him speak. This is the Punk that I grew up loving to watch each and every single Monday or Friday night, whatever show he was on at the time. And I am so happy that we're kind of getting him now, because that's who CM Punk in my eyes needs to be, going up against a guy like Gunther, who's basically telling you, I am going to squash you in this match and make you regret ever stepping into a wrestling ring. So I feel like Punk bringing back that arrogant, best in the world, holier than thou type character, I love it, and I'm all here for it.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously I don't want to spoil it with a prediction because I'm sure we're going to get into that a little bit later in the episode, but I do agree where it feels good to see the CM Punk come back, and it's reminiscent of some of his best work, which is when he was a heel. Maybe that's down the line. I would love to see at least one more CM Punk legit heel run, but I feel like when you think about ever since he's come back to WWE, his top feud was hands down Drew McIntyre. You could even argue Seth Rollins, but Drew was like the money feud that he had. I feel like we didn't really get to see that arrogant best in the world CM Punk. It was more of like an intense, like, I'm here to prove that I belong, I'm back, kind of like just fighting for his life kind of CM Punk, which I like. It's been cool that kind of this older version of him has fed into that kind of, I guess, gimmick. But, you know, at the end of the day, the nostalgia, the money is going to be that best in the world, that arrogant CM Punk. Even when he was like straight edge society, wearing the mask, Nexus, you name it, he was always arrogant. And that's been the CM Punk that people fell in love with. So if that's going to come out and he's going to secure the victory, win the championship as the arrogant CM Punk, cinema. Like, I am absolutely here for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I guess, you know what, that should, and I guess one quick thing we mentioned before we get going. Main event, obviously, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso on the losing end of what typically sets you up to believe that whoever gets beat up the show before the event, that side ends up winning. I don't really know if that's going to be the case here, because I think there's a lot we can speculate about in the SummerSlam predictions end of it. But I just thought it was very interesting. Two things to take away from: Braun Breaker kind of doing like a mini recital of Roman Reigns, like, I own everything in this business. And it's adding a wrinkle to the dynamic of Seth Rollins being gone, where it feels like Braun Breaker's already assuming that everything is his now, with Seth Rollins, you know, promptly just being kind of thrown out of the mix. And we could talk about that in a second. But I just found it interesting that Braun Breaker's already kind of taking that my time is now, to unfortunately stealing a line from John Cena, but it just feels like it's a weird wrinkle to have so soon coming from Braun Breaker. And then also, like, Bronson Reed stealing the Jordans had to be one of the more like funny things that we've seen, because it's not anything impactful, but that's just so like out of the box. And like, who would have saw Bronson Reed A, stealing his shoes, but then B, like standing there clapping them together, being like, these are mine now? That was just one of the most wild things I think I've seen to kind of end a Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I like it because I feel like going into SummerSlam, Jey is a former world champion. Roman Reigns is who he is. They are established, especially just at the end of the day, you know, the Samoans, WWE, we know how that goes. They're always going to be in these main events of these top shows. You need to kind of establish Bronson and Bron. So I like that with the build to SummerSlam, they've been 9 times out of 10 dominating, you know, Jey Uso, dominating the faces, really just being built as these monsters. And I know it is comedy that, you know, Bronson's over here stealing Jordans, but I also kind of like it where it's like, oh, like, they're thugs, like, they will take everything from
like
you.
A nice sign of disrespect.
Like, yeah, I like the disrespect. I know when we've been kind of talking about this whole storyline that's been developing with the faction, you've been highlighting, you know, that odd dynamic of like Braun Breaker's not really a follower, like he's a leader. So I like that they're playing into that a little bit, even if they don't directly mean to. Like, it's just coming off that way where it's like It inevitably feels like it's going to be either a Bron face turn when Rollins is back and goes off on his own, or Rollins is going to kick Bron out. However it goes, that is brewing. But I love this for Bronson Reed because I feel like he was just kind of the odd man out. He's never the guy that's on the mic. He's never the guy that really gets the attention because whenever they do the entrance, they're playing Braun Breaker's music 90% of the time. So it's like clearly this was Braun and Seth with Bronson just kind of being there. I like that he finally had a little moment. He stole the Jordans. He's doing tsunamis. Like I like that they're building him up too. So I like this. I like the build going into it, and we'll see where it falls on the card.
Yeah,
because that's a topic in its own.
And I think without further ado, we've done enough teasing about SummerSlam. I think it's time to get into some predictions here. We got 6 matches from this weekend that we're going to break down for you all. We'll each give our prediction. And Matt, I will let you go first on this very first match we're doing here. I'm not thrilled about it. I understand it. And you seem to be more intrigued by it than I am from the discussions we've had. So I will let you plead the case as to maybe why I should care about this a little bit more, but also who you think is going to win. And we'll start with Randy Orton and Jelly Roll. I cannot believe I'm saying that. And Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul, which is really not that much better. I feel like I need to clean my mouth out with some soap.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've seen this for literal decades. Since I've been watching as a kid, you have always had celebrity cameos, celebrities getting into matches. But I guess what has been changing is like celebrities are really getting into WWE now. Ever since TKO's kind of taken over, you had Travis Scott interfering in the main event of WrestleMania. Now you got Jelly Roll with a marquee matchup on SummerSlam. Logan Paul still being half celebrity, half wrestler. So going into this, why I wanted to highlight this is because I feel like this is that match that's kind of takes social media by storm after SummerSlam. I feel like everyone's going to be talking about whatever Jelly Roll does, whether it's a win, a loss. That one key moment in the match, like that's what's going to get all the clicks because at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, Jelly Roll is a big deal. He's going to bring in the viewers. So in my gut, I feel like this is just going to be one of those feel-good, celebrity gets the win, Randy Orton and Jelly Roll walk away with it. But that really hurts me to say because Drew McIntyre has kind of been pinned as like a top 5, like face pillar of the company, and for him to now be teaming with Logan Paul and losing at SummerSlam in a celebrity match, it hurts. There have been rumors, different storyline, which I don't know if it's fake or real, but Drew having the passport issues, so he may not even make it. I think it was Miz who was like, I'll replace him. Like people might get subbed in, who knows? But my gut is saying Randy Orton and Jelly Roll are walking away with a win just because that's kind of the WWE we got to just accept.
Interesting. So I'm on the other end as for who I think is going to win here. So I'm actually on the Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul side for some of the reasons you mentioned, especially Drew McIntyre being like one of the pillars of WWE. I cannot stress enough how much I dislike some of the handling of Drew McIntyre over the years since returning to the WWE. Like, I hate that his moment at WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar during the COVID era happened the way it did, because that, in my eyes, if that doesn't happen in front of a no crowd in silence, I think Drew McIntyre gets elevated to a level higher than he is right now, where he's probably still consistently in the world title picture and not always losing a world title match or like getting just this close, but somebody else is like a thorn in his side preventing him from getting there. Like, he feels like he's side questing all the time, to put it in a way that I don't really know how else to explain, whereas opposed to like going after the main objective, which for somebody his size, his athleticism, his ability to talk on the mic, like, he should be battling for a world championship. And I understand there's only 2, and the 2 that we have are very good, but I don't think he's in that picture consistently enough in my eyes. But that being said, I like Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul in this one here because I feel like you can have, and Jelly Roll obviously being the big celebrity spot here, you can have him lose in a way where it's a dastardly thing, especially with Logan Paul being an internet celebrity himself, but also a wrestler at the same time. Like, there is a dynamic that you can have, and Logan Paul and his cronies are very good at involving themselves in matches where if Jelly Roll's committed to this being a part of the match thing, I think that there is a realm of possibility where he's maybe taking some sort of spot that allows him to get kind of taken out sort of thing to add dramatic effect. Because, like, yes, a feel-good moment for Jelly Roll is fun, but what about like Jelly Roll somehow getting powerbombed through the announce table or something like that? Like, that gets the internet buzzing. You see something crazy like that. So I feel like there's an angle there. So I kind of like the Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul angle of this, where you kind of have the heels going over. You know what I'm saying?
I agree 100%, and I hope you're right. I really do. Like, I want to take your side, but it's just I feel like with wrestling you get that gut feeling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just don't. I feel like they've been pushing it so heavy. Like, even when Jelly Roll does make an appearance, like I think he clocked Logan Paul with like one right hand, and Logan was really selling it. I feel like they're just gonna. I don't know. I always feel like it's just that layup for the celebrity and the cheap pop. But I really hope you're right. You make a great case, and I agree.
Yeah, I like the path of most resistance when it comes to wrestling because I always feel like it's the more intriguing side, but it's usually the more like this is the obvious answer and this is what's going to happen. The next match we're going to talk about, we're still sticking on Saturday. We got a few Saturday matches to go through here. Another tag team bout, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso teaming up for a mini bloodline reunion against Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker here. There is a lot of angles we can go with this, but for me, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso just kind of winning to put the conversation around Bronson, and Seth Rollins rumors that are kind of just like not boiling, but are simmering in the internet wrestling community online, and just kind of putting it behind them. Or putting them behind the show, rather, is kind of what I'm trying to say here. And the reason I'm saying that is because there is that conspiracy theorist in me that somewhat feels like, because we haven't gotten a clear answer around Seth Rollins yet and just how badly his knee is messed up. I know there's pictures that have surfaced of him in crutches apparently on the streets and things like that, but there was never a confirmation. And I thought the way his injury was handled, don't get me wrong, I think in the moment they were all like, this is not right. Seth probably thinks he's really hurt. We call an audible. LA Knight wins the match because we don't know what's going on, or Seth doesn't know what's going on here, and maybe he wants to put somebody else over in this instance if he's going to be out. But there's something that in the back of my mind is telling me that maybe he's better than he thought he was going to be knee-wise, and that maybe there's a surprise cash-in down the road. So I think for me, again, the conspiracy theories rolling in my head here. You give Roman Reigns, obviously with his kind of return match here as well, and Jey Uso the win. I don't really see how Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed are supposed to overtake Roman alone, never mind plus Jey Uso, who's coming off a tough world title loss and is kind of reeling in a way where he needs a big match win, especially with a family member of his like Roman. It's kind of like the perfect recipe. But I think Bronson and Braun losing this match just makes a lot of sense to me because of other things I have rolling in my mind for what might happen down the road in this show.
Yeah, I agree. My pick is going to be Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. However, I feel like it depends again on the Seth Rollins scenario. So you kind of already alluded to exactly what I'm going to say. But I think if there is a Seth Rollins cash in at SummerSlam, it's a Roman Reigns, Jey Uso win. Mm-hmm. If Seth isn't going to cash in, maybe there's that possibility where they don't necessarily want to bury Bronson and Braun. Maybe someone interferes, helps them out, that's got beef with Roman or Jey, whoever it may be. That would be the only scenario where I really see them winning. But I still feel like that's even hard to come along because, who do you bury? Is it Jey that's going to take the pin? I feel like it's not going to be Roman. What I want to kind of elaborate on with my point with this is this Rollins thing. I feel like to build upon your conspiracy, maybe it's a case of like the whole reason they even gave him this injury, if it is fake and, kayfabe, maybe it's because Seth was just being so over-pushed. We're seeing him every single week, every single day. The best cash-ins are when you have that element of surprise. So I feel like if you have Seth come out after you've seen him 3 times already on the show and cash in, it's going to lose a little bit of that pop. So I feel like maybe they worked in this injury, write him off a bit, but still always referencing him just to come out at SummerSlam to a little bit more of an element of surprise and then get his cash in. So I feel like as I've sat with it more, I'm with you. I am got the tinfoil hat on, conspirating. But yeah, I think with the match, Reigns and Uso, but I would not be surprised if Rollins walks away with either world title at SummerSlam.
Yeah, see, and then again, would I be shocked if none of this conspiracy stuff happens and Seth's actually hurt? Absolutely not. There's just like little breadcrumbs that don't sit right with me, and it's we couldn't scan his knee because it was too swollen on the MRIs thing. We have to check back on it later. He's popping up on the street side in crutches. Like it feels like he's. Wrestlers seem to kind of disappear off the face of the earth when they get hurt. And for somebody like Seth Rollins with an injury that could be as significant as it's reportedly potentially supposed to be. I just find it odd that somebody's already catching him on the streets in crutches. Like, that almost feels like on purpose. And again, I'm not saying that in the initial moments, maybe Seth Rollins really thought he was hurt. You know, maybe the entire audible was called, and that's why Saturday night's main event looked the way it did. In the moment, everyone feared the worst, but maybe, you know, they got that initial MRI and they were like, oh, dude, you know, you might have just sprained your MCL. Like, he's had that happen. He literally worked WrestleMania, not last year, but the year prior, on what was essentially like sprained ACL, MCL, if I'm misremembering. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was sprains in the knee that ultimately ended up tearing at Mania, and that's why he was limping around the way he was. Like, we've seen this from Seth before, so they were like, all right, we take the cautionary route, we pull you, and then we have you pull a surprise cash in. And if it's not SummerSlam, it's a little bit further down the road. Just saying. Tinfoil hat firmly on, but wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong. The next match we got to look at here, though, Gunther versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. And this is a match that would be a prime candidate for the Seth Rollins cash-in, because Seth and Punk cannot get out of each other's way, and we have seen that literally since Punk returned. That being said, though, for me, this is CM Punk's moment. I want to see Punk with the World Heavyweight Championship around his waist. I grew up on CM Punk winning the World Heavyweight Championship those first 2 times before jumping over and getting the WWE title a couple times. I want to see CM Punk win that World Championship. We have arrogant CM Punk. I'm letting the fan take the reins on this one here. Gunther loses, CM Punk wins, because I want it to be that way. Plain and simple, I'm being a fan on this prediction.
Yeah, as simple as that, man. I'm with you. I'm predicting CM Punk. I want CM Punk. Again, I feel like Gunther, this whole reign was just to set up the Goldberg match to retire, you know, I guess in some eyes a legend. For me, I was never a big Goldberg guy, but I will give him credit where credit's due. He's a legend. So I feel like now it's like, okay, you had that program, time to drop the title. Gunther got another reign. He got to be champion for a little bit longer. It's CM Punk's time. I think this is ending in one of two ways. Punk walks out champion, or if our whole conspiracy is true, Rollins is cashing in, because it just makes way too much sense to cash in on CM Punk. I don't see him cashing in personally on the other match, because I don't think, unless they're doing like a title, brand swap, whatever kind of thing it is, I feel like Rollins is going to continue being the face of Netflix, the face of Monday Night Raw, winning that world title. So I see it, again, Punk winning for sure, but the whole wild card being Seth Rollins.
Yes, purely fan in me just wants to see it happen. But to your point, the transitional champion thing has felt very real for Gunther in this one here. I feel like you could not have Jey Uso drop the title to anyone else besides Gunther that was a heel. There's just the dynamic of the Raw locker room, the way it's set up right now, there was not a proper heel beyond Gunther to take the belt off of him for him to then pass it to another face. So I feel like you laid this out beautifully to me when we first started talking about this after the title change first happened on that Monday Night Raw. Gunther being a transitional champion for a new face to take the belt for a little bit definitely makes some sense. And I feel like a lot of people say the money is in the chase and it's better to have, you know, a face chasing, but rather than being a champion. CM Punk's been chasing for the better part of like 2 years and some change now. I think it's about time we finally give him a crowning moment at a big event if it wasn't going to be at Mania this year. Next, our last match of Saturday night, women's matchup for the WWE Women's Championship. We have Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. This is one that I'm kind of in a toss-up situation of I don't really know who's going to win here. So I'm going to let you go first on this one here and lay it out for me. But I'm very much on the fence. Like, this is one of those I'm going to pick in the moment, and I think it could go either way because both sides have really good arguments for why they should either win and or keep the championship, depending on who you're picking.
Yeah, I do think this is probably, at least with night one, because we haven't gotten into night two yet, probably the most unpredictable match on the card, because like you said, it could go either way. I think the biggest wild card would have been Naomi at the time, but now that she's already cashed in, she's over on Raw, that's out of the picture. My gut is saying Jade Cargill. I feel like it's hard for me to picture her losing clean or however it is just on a big event, and you've been building her up so heavily where I feel like this is Jade's moment to kind of take the belt. Personally, I've really been enjoying Tiffny Stratton's reign. I think she's a great champion. She's doing great work. But I don't know. I feel like in my gut, again, as that wrestling fan, it's hard to see Jade losing and just how she recovers from it, where she goes. Like, it's not even the excuse of Naomi with an interference or whatever, because she's out of the story. So I'm going to go with Jade and kind of lock that in.
Yeah, that's kind of the predicament that I'm sitting on with this match too. It's really Tiffny Stratton's on such a hot run and her going through her like rookie year, as she's touted it throughout this first year in the business. And like at some point it has to end. But there's also the piece of me that's like, the run is as hot as it could possibly be. And like, when do you want to put that fire out? And I don't know if there's a real clear spot for it, because she has done so well. Her character work, her in-ring ability, like everything she's done, she has been nailing it. But then on Jade Cargill's end, to your point, the way she's been built up, a loss here, especially a clean loss here, I don't know where you go with her, because she's been in spots before where she's had opportunities and it's like just kind of slipped away sort of deal. This feels like the moment. You have her winning Queen of the Ring, and it feels like the way that they have built up King and Queen of the Ring now is it's allowing people to kind of elevate themselves to that next level. It's like that stepping stone. You win this and then you're on to the main event picture. And I love the way they've designed that. Like King of the Ring being a thing that turns into a championship opportunity at SummerSlam is like a perfect example of long-term storytelling, but also just like properly utilizing your events leading up to even bigger events. Like, so this is a perfect scenario where Jade Cargill comes out, she comes away with a championship victory, her first of, I'm assuming, many, because WWE loves her and was pushing her. And I mean, she looks like $1 million, $1 billion, like unbelievable look to her character and everything that she is. So it feels like it's that time, but Tiffny Stratton's just on a heater. And I think that's really what it's going to come down to. And I don't think they could put the fire out just yet. So I think I'm leaning Tiffny Stratton on this one here.
Okay.
That being said, we've got to dive into Sunday. We only have 2 matches on the Sunday card. I think the first day, a little bit more heavier loaded in my eyes. There's also like that 8 tag team, 6 tag team match, or whatever it's going to be, TLC for like the championships. Like that's going to be crazy car wreck fun. But I feel like a lot of the weight is in that first night. But there's 2 big matches we got to get into for night 2. Triple threat. Women's World Championship match. Naomi, obviously cashing in at Evolution, recently crowned champion. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. Rhea, I'm saying names together here. Rhea, obviously, yet to get a victory over Io Sky. I feel like that is a story that is never going to end now that it has been brought to everybody's attention. Naomi, though, she has been grinding. And this is one of those wrestlers who had to leave WWE to come back to be more appreciated the way she should be type deals. And I love that story for her. Like her and Drew McIntyre, they're leaving the company. And like Cody Rhodes, another example of that. People who had to leave to go make themselves be worth, in the eyes of WWE, their time, and then come back and are just completely killing it now. With that being said, this feels like, for me, anyone but Naomi doesn't make a ton of sense in this situation here. I don't think you'd want to see the World Championship get hot potatoed this quickly. And for how much the internet wrestling community, or just like the I hate saying internet wrestling community because it's just so easy to point at, but like the wrestling fandom as a whole has gotten so behind Naomi and what she's doing right now, to like, you hear the way they are cheering for her in her interview segments, never mind when she's in the ring now. It doesn't make sense for her to drop the belt. Rhea and Io, I think, are heading towards maybe a singles program outside of this where they have to settle their beef on their own. And if a championship change happens where Io or Rhea wins it here, regardless of whether they're pinning each other or one of them is pinning Naomi, it does not solve anything. But they need to have a one-on-one where things finally finish up between the two of them. So I'm really leaning Naomi in this one here. Nobody else winning this match really makes a ton of sense. I think we're going to get some sort of conclusion between the other 2 participants. And she's going to go on a run. She's earned the spot that she's in. And I'd just be legitimately shocked to see them flip the title this quickly.
Well, for viewers or anyone that's in a rush, I've got good news because I'm going to keep it short and sweet. You just summed that up perfectly. My pick is also Naomi. I feel like there's not much more I can add because she just won. She just got the briefcase. Like, she is super. You talk about Tiffny Stratton having like a really hot reign right now. Naomi's like 3 levels above that. Like, she is just, kind of at the highest peak she has ever been. And I know when she even went over to like TNA, she was the world champ, and people were, again, like you had said, we're seeing her value. But this is like new levels for her. So I'm happy for her. I don't see her losing. I think inevitably, if one day Rhea is to get that win over Io, it would have been a triple threat. I feel like people are always going to put that little asterisk that like, you didn't really beat Io one-on-one. So I don't see either of them, both literally were world champions this year. So it's like they don't necessarily need it, especially when Io Sky just had it and didn't really get to do much with it. She was booked so poorly. Is going to be Naomi. So keep it short and sweet for you guys.
Yeah. And I think, and just to add to your point there, like the fact that Rhea and Io have had the championships within this calendar year already, like what better way to really solidify Naomi and the run that she is currently on right now than having her defeat two literally former world champions of this calendar year. Like it really would set a precedent going forward of like, she is the mountaintop and you're going to have to climb to dethrone her. But last, and certainly not least, we have ourselves a story that has been just so confusing in certain instances. Whether you've been buying into John Cena's heel turn or not, there is a large wave of people who think that Cena's run as a heel could potentially be coming to an end this weekend, or at the very least, he's going to lose the championship and maybe it's going to turn into a Cody's turning heel because there have been the signs. The watch that he's been wearing, that was obviously something that The Rock gave him, or The Rock had. If I'm remembering or misremembering incorrectly, you can let me know, Matt. But we're in a situation right now where there are things pointing in a lot of different directions right now. This is where the tinfoil hat that I already have on my head gets a little bit tighter and things start to go left instead of right. This is where I would put the Seth Rollins cash in. That's a big if he's going to cash in, because the thing that Seth has talked about a lot is that he wants control. He wants power. He's pointed at the World Heavyweight Championship a lot and said that, but what is actual control and power in the WWE? For anyone who has been a fan for as long as WWE or WWF or WWF has existed, the main championship, that WWE championship, now the undisputed WWE championship, is the money, is the power, is the one in charge. That is the lead championship. No matter how many other world titles have existed at the same time, that big gold belt that they have right now is the one that you want to have. And would it not be crazy and out of so far left field if Seth Rollins not only found a way to stop CM Punk from winning in night one, but then double down and cash in on the other championship the following night? Like, if you wanted to give an even bigger middle finger to CM Punk as Seth Rollins, you cost him the title and you take the other championship. That is where the tinfoil hat lies. The reality is, I think simply put, Cody Rhodes is winning. John Cena's championship run comes to an end. Whether he realizes his mistake or Cody turns heel, I don't really know. But my big call is, if there's going to be a cash-in, Seth Rollins out of left field for the WWE Championship and all the marbles.
I love it, and you make a great sales pitch. I'm not going to lie. It sounds good. It is laid out on the table, and it's right there. They could absolutely go that route, but I do want to stick kind of to what I had already been pitching earlier. I feel like if this whole Rollins injury is fake, if it's been kind of watered down or hidden, I do think if he's cashing in at SummerSlam, the story just makes too much sense to me that it's going to be against CM Punk. So I do think this is going to be a typical one-on-one, hopefully no celebrity interference, no Travis Scott, just one-on-one match, clear things up. And I remember when we did the WrestleMania predictions, I said Cody was actually going to win, and he lost. I'm going to roll the dice a second time, once again say Cody Rhodes, because I just feel like there's not too much story for Cena as a heel left. And they've just been planting those seeds that he's kind of realizing what he's been doing is just wrong. Maybe this isn't how he wants to go out with his career. So I do think this tail half of the year is going to be kind of the face redemption arc. As for Cody, will he win it as a face? I could see that as a possibility because he does the merch. He's the new John Cena. Could he do it as a heel? The wrestling fan of me would love to see that. But I'm going to say that it's just a straight-up one-on-one match. Cody Rhodes is walking out as the winner, and this is where this whole Cena redemption arc begins.
See, the one thing that I dislike about everything you just said is that the vanilla option of Cody Rhodes winning and John Cena realizing he was wrong in his ways feels like such a logical option. But it feels like that's what's going to happen. But I don't want to accept that. But like, I hear what you say, and in my mind, I'm like, that's probably what happens here. And I'm off my rocker predicting the way I am. but I love the uncertainty surrounding this, and I think we're in for a really surprising weekend when it's all said and done. But that'll do it for this week's edition of Ringside Review from myself and Matt Colpitts. As always, thank you all for watching, and if you made it to the end, it's greatly appreciated. We'll see you all next week following SummerSlam and Monday Night Raw.